Hello hobbyists and welcome back to another Getting on the Tabletop. Well, it is spooky months as well as Orktober. We're not going to be painting up any orcs, but we're going to be painting up some spooky models from Malifaux, the Neverborn Starter. So, in our Neverborn Starter, we get 4 models. A nice ghoul in a suit, this Victorian lady ghoul, and 2 varieties of scarecrows. We got variety number 1 here, and variety number 2. So we're going to paint up each of these models from this little Malifaux starter set. We're only going to be painting one of the scarecrows because in essence the other one will be using the exact same scheme that the first one will be using, so I'm only going to show you painting one scarecrow because we'll just transform that scene to the other. Anyways, I cleaned up the mold lines. I think these are a PVC plastic, they're a hard plastic, and then I went out and primed them black to start out with. The first guy we have to paint up is our Mr. Ghoul in a suit, so let's paint him up. So as we take another look at our Mr. Ghoul in a suit, his suit's gonna be that nice black color, you know, a professional, nice tuxedo suit there. It's gotta be that nice black. He's got a nice book, got some pages coming out of the book. He's got a nice looking top hat. We're gonna leave that black as well to go with his nice suit. But anyways, we're gonna start out with, of course, his boots there on the bottom, and we're going to be using dirt spatter from Army Painter to paint up them boots. So we got our ghoul here, and I'm going to now begin working on his boots here, covering the entire thing, of course, in brown. Now you see that he does have that thing that's right down here on his boot. I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but right there. There's this part that like splits between the boot. We're gonna get that a different color. That's actually a different part. That's actually part of the clothing. You see it sometimes in like World War II models, like how their boots come together. So anyways, we're not going to color that. So I'm just gonna color the tips of his boots brown, and then we're gonna deal with that other part a different color. So if you are yourself painting up these models, just take your time working through them and get that brown down. Alright, so we finished up the boots there, so you can see a nice brown color on them. Really nice. Now, if you're wondering why we didn't do his book that he has up here in brown, we're going to do that in a different brown. I'm going to do leather brown instead of dirt spatter for that. Now, it's time to do his little coverings on his boots here, as well as his little shirt inside of his thing. I'm not sure if the camera will ever pick it up, but there he does have a shirt up in there along like his nice blazer coat right here. So we're going to do those both in matte white from Army Painter. So anyways, we have some white right there. Now I will let you know, painting white on dark colors is not easy. Actually, painting white period is not great either. So you just take your time. It's going to probably take a couple of multiple coats to get a good white color. These little beads that are going right up is covers. We will return those back to black. So I'll do that off camera once I'm done painting white. I'll just get those back to black. And then of course, like I said, he does have a shirt. Not sure if the camera will pick it up, but there it is right there. A shirt in between, of course, his top coat of his suit. And then right in there, we will be painting white as well. So just take your time painting up white. Like I said, white over dark isn't great, nor is painting up white period great. So just take your time, use multiple coats, use thin coats to get that white down onto this model. So the white is done. It took a couple of coats to fully cure it, but it is done. As you see, I haven't done the studs just yet. I'll be doing that, of course, like I said, off camera, but I did want to show you the white, completed white. Again, we did the upper part of the shirt between, of course, his nice coat and all of that. So anyways, now we're going to deal with the book in his hand, and we're going to use leather brown for that color from the Army Painter. Now you could also use this leather brown for his boots as well. I just like dirt spatter for boots over leather brown, but leather brown was really nice for the book, so we're going to do the book in leather brown. So got some leather brown on my brush. We're just going to simply work that over the book and a couple of nice thin coats. We finished up his book. As you can see, the leather brown, as I try to get some different angles of it, is a much lighter brown color than the dirt spatter we used for his shoes. If you want to make this book that deeper chocolate brown that the dirt spatter is, you can do that as well. I just wanted to give some definition and difference between the boots and the book. So now we're going to do with the pages sticking out of the book and the middle of the book where the pages would sit. And to do that, we'll be using Army Painter Banshee Brown. I'm going to pick up the top of these pages that are sticking out of the book. So of course, when you start getting into the middle of the book here, you will just want to be careful about what we already did. Again, if you do get it on that leather brown, you can go and fix that up. And then there's also these two little pages on the back there of his book where his hand is holding it. I'll pick one out right here, right there. You also want to make sure to get that for him as well. So just take your time working through the Banshee Brown, getting a nice even coat over. Again, if you do get it on the leather brown, just go patch that back up with some leather brown. So we've completed the Banshee Brown, which of course is the inner part of the book, the little notes popping out, and then that little back part of the books. I think you can get a better angle from there. Okay, right there. You can see right there. So in ways, as I said, it really defines out the book that there is those pages out in the middle, gives you more of an interesting book looking color. You could just, of course, paint the whole thing leather brown, but I think using the Banshee Brown down the middle to show like the nature of pages down the middle is really, really nice. So in ways, this guy only has two colors left. We have a little buckle on the back of his nice fancy coat there that we'll be doing in a gold color, and we have his skin. So it took me a while to kind of figure out what type of skin tone I wanted to use. I'm just gonna go my standard cobalt skin from Army Painter for him. Again, you can use whatever skin tones you want if you want to make them like more ghoulish or a different color altogether. Skin tone is user's choice a lot of the time. So I got our ghoul man right here. I got some cobalt skin, and we're just going to working it through his head here, and then we're going to of course work it through his neck area as well. And then of course he has the two little hands as well, so we want to make sure we get this, and we make sure to get this hand as well. So I'm going to take my time in getting this painted down, and then that will leave us only this little brass buckle in the back. And then I'm going to do that in Retributor armor from Citadel. So Cobalt skin from Army Painter for his skin, and then Retributor armor from Citadel for the little buckle in the back. So there we are. We finished up the flesh tone on the face and the hands, and we did the Retributor armor for the little cusp in the back on his suit coat. So now it is time to wash the model, and I will be doing the full wash of this model off camera. So first up, for the boot brown, we're going to be using Army Painter Strong Tone mixed 1:1 with Quick Shade Mixing Medium. For the white color, we will be using Citadel's Contrast Apothecary White. For the flesh tone, we will be using Flesh Tone from Army Painter mixed 1:1 with Quick Shade Mixing Medium. And then for the book, we'll be using Citadel Angrax Urge Shade. And finally, Citadel Syria Sepia for the gold. Now, if you want to do the black, if you want to highlight it up or wash it, you really can't wash a lot of black because black paint doesn't really wash well. But if you want to, I would highly recommend Citadel's Contrast Black Templar to wash up the black if you want to get into some of those recess areas and bring out that detail. So when I return, this model will be fully washed up and ready for some highlights. So there we are, we've washed up our model. Now I did not go and use the Black Templar contrast paint from Citadel to highlight up the black here, but again, if you want to highlight up your black and define some of those details and the raised areas and the areas like right here between his legs, you can go do that yourself. So anyways, it's time to highlight up this model, and we're gonna start with Dark Reaper from Citadel to highlight up the black suit he is wearing and top hat. So once again, Dark Reaper is a pseudo like gray, but does not transform your blacks into gray. Again, I don't like highlighting up black with like grays, because then I think it just turns the black gray and kind of just removes that nature of the black. We just want to give that subtle highlight to the black raised areas and raised edges here as I'm edge highlighting up the model. So anyways, I'm going to go through the entire model, edge highlighting up the black with Dark Reaper. So we finished up highlighting all of the black with the Dark Reaper. Once more, just giving that subtle difference from the black primer we have on it to just defining all of those wrinkles in the coat, edge highlighting it up so you can see everything all together and looks very, very nice. So next up, we're going to do the shoes and the book. For the shoes, we're going to use Fur Brown from Army Painter, and then we're just going to reuse Leather Brown and edge highlight up the book just to bring back a little bit of that color. Again, this Leather Brown from Army Painter. So we're gonna highlight up both of those colors. The Fur Brown on the dirt spattered boots, really defining the boots. And then, as you can see, you probably can't tell, but there is some definition. I did edge highlight up that book here, so I try to get it on camera for you. I don't know if you'll pick it up, but there is a subtle difference between the darker leather to that lighter leather. Again, I didn't want to do an overall like Fur Brown on it or dirt spatter. I just wanted to kind of just give a smidging of that edge highlight. I just wanted to kind of, you know, tell this is an old book that this ghoul guy is holding. Again, if you want to bring up that color yourself, I would highly recommend probably just Fur Brown for that. So we only have a few colors left. We have the white, the flesh, and the papers. So for the papers, we're going to be using Shafty Bone from Citadel. For the white, we're going to be using White Scar from Citadel, and for the flesh, we'll be using Corpse Pale from Army Painter. So I'm going to get that all highlighted up and show you the finished up highlighted model. So there we are. We've completed our first Neverborn here, Mr. Ghoulman, that actually does have a name, and his name is Klaus Norwood. If you look at the back of the box, you will get a name there. So he is completely done. I have also forgotten to mention I have not done the brass part in the back. That will be utilizing 𝐒𝐄𝐋 Armor Gold to highlight that up. But other than that, this man is done, ready to get snapped off this holder here and put onto a base. So with him completed, it's time we move on to the next of our Neverborn. So as I say, we are now once more taking a look at our Victorian lady, who happens to be named Hildegard, I think it's Hildegard, that's how you say it. But anyways, we're going to, of course, transform her from this black primer to a nice Victorian lady, or ghoulish Victorian ladies. So anyways, we're first going to begin, of course, with the dress that is the largest portion of this model. And to do that, we will be using Naggaroth Knight from Citadel. It's a nice, rich purple color. So we're going to do that for the entirety of the dress, the parts, her gloves, as well as her fan and her hat. We cannot forget the hat. So we're going to paint that all up in Naggaroth Knight. So I got some Naggaroth Knight here. So I'm going to just paint this over the entirety of the model. It's probably going to take a couple of coats to get the Naggaroth Knight looking nice. Now, with this model, if you ever paint it up, make sure you get under that dress as well, even though you know it's not going to be visible much to your opponent, but it's very important you still get under there and you cover that in purple, especially these sides right here. So like I said, we're going to get the entirety of the dress. She's got some gloves, she's got this upper part of the dress, she's got the fan we need to cover, and we need to cover the hat as well. So we're going to just take our time working in a couple of thin coats to get the entirety of this dress covered down in some Naggaroth Night. Naggaroth Night has been completed, a nice rich purple color covering our entire model. So anyways, there's only really two more colors to really do on this model, and that is the flesh and the hair. So for the flesh tone, we are going to be using Kobold Skin. So the skin areas that we will be picking out is the arm that is right here that we'll have to be a little careful about all that purple. Again, if we get it on the purple, we'll just clean up, and then her face as well. And of course, once we're done with the face, we will then deal with the hair that is back here, and we're going to use dirt spatter for a nice deep brown color to Hildegard's hair. So I'm going to take my time getting those two colors down, and I'll return to you once I have completed them. Well, there she is, completely finished. Only really 3 colors needed for here as we look at the flesh tone thanks to the kobold flesh and that dirt spatter brown hair. Again, making sure you get it on the, of course, the back of her hair that's there. But yes, that is that done. So we've completed all the base coats for the model. Now it's time to wash up the model and highlight up the model. For our Naggaroth Night, we're going to be using Druchii Violet for the purple to darken up that purple and make it a whole lot more richer. Flesh tone wash from Arming Painter mixed 1:1 with Quick Shade mixing medium from Arming Painter. And for the brown, we're going to use Strong Tone ink from Arming Painter, again mixed 1:1 with Quick Shade mixing medium. So I'm going to complete that all up here off camera and return to you all once I have washed up this model and we are ready to highlight it. There is the model completely washed up. Again, darkening up that purple, making a nice rich color, bringing out that skin tone from the kobold, and really bringing out the detail on the hair. So anyways, now it's time to highlight up this model, and the largest portion of this model again is her dress, and we're going to do a dry brushing for the dress and probably some edge highlighting for more of the thickly areas I don't want, to do the dry brushing for, but the majority of the model will be dry brushed. And the color we'll be using for that dry brush / edge highlight will be Genestealer Purple from Citadel. I think it's going to just enhance the entirety of the model. Now I'm probably going to switch between a medium to small dry brush for certain areas before, of course, I get into, of course, as well, like I said, some edge highlighting and more of the finicky areas like the top of the dress that goes right next to Hildegard's skin. So let me get that color applied here for you. So I got some paint on my dry brush here, and I'm just going to gently start picking out those details. The Genestealer Purple, just picking up the raised areas. We can of course use this Genestealer Purple to also bring a little bit of color into the, the flat areas, but we just want to be careful with our dry brushing. As you can see, there's already a nice subtle change there, but not an overall change. Again, that's not what we're looking to do. We're just looking to give a subtle change in the color of her dress. So I'm going to continue working my way through the entirety of the model, giving it a gentle dry brushing of this Genestealer Purple, just giving a nice lighter purple color over the entirety of the model. And that Genestealer Purple brought out the perfect color on that dress. Again, it was just a very light dry brush. I'm trying to take out all of those raised edges. I did switch into using an edge highlight on the frill right next to her skin, but other than that, everything else was a gentle dry brushing of that Genestealer Purple. Again, just bring out all of that raised detail and adding some nice color to that dark purple dress. Now then, we're going to move on to the flesh and the brown. For the flesh, we're going to be using Corpse Pale, and for the brown, we are going to be using Fur Brown. So let's get those two colors applied to our Victorian Ghoul. So I got our Corpse Pale here, and I'm just going to just pick out probably like this area right here of her arm. Just going to just put a little stripe there. Again, we're just trying to bring out a little bit of that flesh around her arm, just giving some definition there. Just dragging our opponent's eye to that location. Of course, we'll do that for the rest of her body as well. And then I, of course, have some fur brown here. We're gonna pick up those raised edges of her hair. Just trying to give some definition to it. Once more, just dragging a little bit, dragging our opponent's eye to the parts of her hair that we want it to be dragged to. Sorry, I guess my camera is a little out of focus, but there you go. So anyways, I'm gonna finish up highlighting this model and show you it's completely finished. 𝐿𝐷𝐿 is now completed. Again, just a look at the highlight of the face. Again, I just showed off those elbow areas of the arms. Again, just a nice subtle highlight in the hair there just to show it off. But yes, that is her completed. So with that completed, we just only have one more Malifaux model to finish for you all. Again, that happened to be the Scarecrow known as a red cap. Now, of course, we have actually two red caps, but I'm only going to do one for this video because we only really need to paint one, because both red caps will be using the exact same color scheme, the exact same painting style. So let's take another look at the red cap. So once more, here's a look at our red cap Scarecrow. So anyways, the first thing we're going to do, of course, is the namesake of the model. Being a red cap means we're going to do the red color for the whoosh and the clothing and the hat of the model. And to do that red color, we're going to be using pure red from the army painter. So I have some pure red here. Again, we're going to target this entire whoosh, the hat, and the red cap's clothing. That is all going to be red. Now, red over black, I found with this pure red color, takes about 3 thin coats to really get the red color down. So it's going to take a little while to get this red color to actually cover up all of the black primer on this model. But again, that's why we work in thin coats. So again, we don't clog any detail. So I'm going to take my time painting up those thin coats across the red cap here until we have a nice even color of red. So the pure red has been completed. It took about 4 thin coats to get the red into this nice color to cover up all of that black primer. But anyways, we're now ready to move on to the wood of this model, which happens to be the arms, the stock of the weapon, and the hands, and of course his feet as well. There's the feet. And to do that color, we're going to be using once again dirt spatter from Army Painter. So once again, we're going to be picking out the arm with this dirt spatter, the stock of his weapon with it, and then of course, as I said, his leg as well. So I'm just going to be careful here because again, we have all that red around all this wooded area, so I don't want to get that dirt spatter onto the red, though we can fix it up if we do happen to get it on the red. So I'm going to take my time working through the dirt spatter and return to you all once I have completed it all. The brown has been completed. Again, that dirt spatter just bringing that nice chocolatey brown to all of the wood there. There is a wood brown that Army Paint does make that is oak brown. You could also use that as well for your own models, of course, if you wanted a more woody brown color. I think I used it before for Groot from Marvel Crisis Protocol. But anyways, we completed up that color, so only really have 2 left. We have the Scarecrow's face. Now, the Scarecrow's face does have 2 buttons on it, or the red cap's face, but it is a Scarecrow in essence. It does have 2 buttons. Those buttons will be black, but we're going to paint those as last thing to do, because the aspect is that we're going to still have to wash up the face area of the red cap, so you know it's going to be a little hard with those black buttons there, so we're just going to do those black button eyes last. But next up, we're going to deal with his scythe here, and we're going to do that all in Necromancer Cloak. Now, there are these little like growth bumps across the scythe. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over this with Necromancer Cloak, and then when we get to the highlighting step, I'm going to highlight over those growths with some corpse pale. That way it looks like the growths are growing on the scythe itself, on the metal of the scythe. I think it'll give a very unique look to the scythe overall. So we're going to, of course, do this scythe in Necromancer Cloak, as well as the little nub right there for like the bolt that's in the scythe. So we're gonna complete up that color here. Again, that is Necromancer Cloak from Army Painter. So I have some Necromancer Cloak on my brush, and again, we're going to cover that up. Again, just being cautious now of the wood we just completed. It's gonna look a little strange on the black primer, but you can easily pick out the gray over the black. So just take your time working through that. Once again, make sure to also get the little bolt that is right there, because that is a bolt that's like holding the blade of the scythe into the wood. So we just want to get that as well. If you want to leave that as brown, you could do that as well. I'm just going to give it the Necromancer Cloak because I'm going to use it as metal. So I'm going to get that color done for you all now. So there, the Necromancer Cloak has been finished on the scythe, and the two little buttons there. That's the only part we're going to be doing in Necromancer Cloak. So anyways, the last part to do is the face of our red cap, kind of hidden under the cap itself. It's a little hard to probably pick up on the camera. But anyways, to do the face, cloth-like face of these red caps, I'm going to use Banshee Brown from Army Painter. So anyways, I got some Banshee Brown here, and then I'm going to work in there, and then now see, there you go. Now the camera is actually picking it up now that there's actually color there. So I'm going to work through the entirety of that facial area, or the head of the red cap, and get this color down on it, and then we will be ready to wash up this model. So there we are, we finished up the face there, or the head on our red cap. I don't know how well my camera will pick it up, but you can now see it definitely there more than last time. So anyways, that is all of the base colors done for the model. Now it's time to wash it up, and I of course will be washing it up off of camera. So for the red, we're going to use Blood Angel's red contrast paint from Citadel. We're going to use dark tone ink for the Necromancer Cloak, mix 1:1 with Quick Shade Mixing Medium. That is from Army Painter. We will be using mid brown mixed 1:1 with Quick Shading Mixing Medium, again from Army Painter, for the wood. And then for the face area, we will be using strong tone mixed 1:1 with Quick Shade Mixing Medium, of course from Army Painter. So when I return, I'll have this model fully washed up and ready for the highlighting. So there is our model completely washed up. The contrast paint quickly darkening up the red there, getting on all the recesses, giving us some nice shading in there. The brown bringing up that nice brown rich color, and of course the dark tone ink nicely darkening up the scythe there, and of course the strong tone mixing a little bit there to darken up the face area of our red cap. So now we're going to begin the highlighting process of this red cap, and we're going to start with the red. That's the largest area. We're going to do a dry brush of that. First, using Citadel Evil Sun Scarlet for an overall dry brushing, and then we're going to use a gentler dry brushing just to pick out a few of the higher raised areas with Dragon Fire Bright, also from Citadel. So I have a medium dry brush here. I'm probably gonna flip over to a smaller one, but I'm going to start gently just picking out those raised areas very gently with this dry brush, just trying to pick out all of the raised details here. And I'll probably switch to a smaller dry brush to get into more of the areas that have places next to them. But anyways, we're just going to do this dry brush over the entirety of the model, and then I'm going to return to pick out some more of the higher raised details to give it a little more definition with that Fire Dragon Bright. So I'll return to you once I have completed this dry brushing of this model. So there's our model completed with the two dry brushing. Again, that's Evil Sun Scarlet, and then another dry brushing of Fire Dragon Bright, both from Citadel, just giving some nice definition to the red completely. very nice definition in to the red swoosh and all that. So next up, we are going to deal with the brown, the dirt spatter that we darkened up with a mid-brown. And to do that, we're going to be using a mixture of edge highlighting and dry brushing. We're going to do the dry brushing for the stock of the scythe, and then we're going to edge highlight his arms just for a little more control there. So we're going to be using fur brown from Army Painter to do that. So I have some fur brown here on my brush. I'm just going to again edge highlight up his arm, so just picking out all of those nice edges there on him. And then once I have completed edge highlighting the arms, I'm going to then go into, of course, doing a dry brushing of the stock of the weapon, of course being careful of this scythe here. I'm just going to take my time working through this model and return to you once I have edge highlighted and dry brushed the fur brown over the dirt spatter. So there we are, we've completed up the browns, a nice edge highlighting on the arms and then some nice dry brushing to bring up some color of that scythe there, or at least the handle of the scythe. So now we are going to go on to the blade of the scythe, and we're going to do two colors here. For the little growths on the scythe, we will be using a dry brushing, a very, very light dry brushing of Corpse Pale on that. And then we're going to do an edge highlight over the entire of the scythe and a little dot in the middle of each of the studs of gun metal. Of course, once I have completed up that section, I'm going to change out my water, and then we will complete the last part of this model, which is the face. So anyways, I got some Corpse Pale here on this dry brush, and I'm just going to gently dry brush it across those growths, just picking them out. Just giving us some definition to the scythe. And I'll do it over here for this end of the scythe as well. Again, that just gives some nice definition to the scythe overall. Now we'll go into edge highlighting the scythe. So I have some gunmetal here from Army Painter, and I'm just going to simply pick out those edges right here of the scythe and give that some nice gunmetal on it. And then once I am done with that, I'm going to change out my water, and then we're just going to complete up the face and talk about the base for this model. So there we are, we've completed up the scythe, again dry brushing Corpse Pale from Army Painter over the growth on it, and then edge highlighting the scythe with gunmetal from Army Painter, and of course putting a little dot of gunmetal in the center of each of those studs there. But anyways, that is it for the scythe. The last thing to do is the face with the button eyes, and then there's some like buttons that go across her face. We're going to be doing that in matte black from Army Painter. And that will be the last thing we do for this model. So let's quickly talk about the base for this model, and actually the bases for all the remaining models. So this is the base for each of these Malifaux models. I'm holding it here on a Citadel holder to show you. I started off by priming the base black with matte black Army Painter primer. Then I put in the center of it Astro Granite from Citadel. That's a technical from Citadel. After that, I hit it with Agrex Earthshade Wash from Citadel, and then I did a dry brushing of Tyrant Skull from Citadel. Now, when basing these little armies all together, it's important that you do your bases all of the same. So all the bases for each one of the Malifaux models is this method. Starting off with their base, Astro Granite, Agrex Earthshade, and then a dry brushing of Tyrant Skull. So all their bases are completely the same. And with that, we've completed all these models, and we can call them good. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this Getting on the Tabletop video. These Malifaux models were really cool to paint up and really quick to paint up as well. I really liked their sculpts. They were really cool. I could do some cool painting techniques with them and all of that. But let me know down in the comments your thoughts on these Malifaux models. Let me know also your thoughts on how I did the paint reveals. Do you like the older videos where I would take a shot to show you the actual physical paint bottle? Or do you like the paint reveals in this video? Let me know those down in the comments, and I will start using the method you guys prefer. And with that, Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you get notified when my videos go live for you, whether that be battle reports, getting on the tabletop painting videos, shorts, or whatever it may be. You don't want to miss out. And with that, I'm going to thank you here from Mama Dragon's Miniatures, and on to the glamour shots.
The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Up came the sun and dried up all the rain. So the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again. So the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again.